I'm Curtis Camponi. I've worked my entire life in child welfare with families. I started way back in the day after I got my degree in psychology working in group homes. All of my time working with children and families, I thought I had a decent grasp on what it meant to be a parent and how these tools and techniques can be utilized as a parent. But it wasn't until our tiny little superhero, which you see on the screen there, it wasn't until our tiny little superhero came into our life that I realized I did not know anything. I didn't know anything. Because now it's been about 2 years where our tiny little superhero came into our life, I was thinking, why not take the experience I've had working with children and families and then combine that with what I know with motivational interviewing, and then add personal experiences from what my family and myself have gone through over the last 2 years when our tiny little superhero came to our life. And from that is how we got here today. So let's talk about it. EAP is express, avoid, provide. 1, express empathy. 2, avoid arguments. And 3, provide options. So let's start with empathy. Think of it like a house. You could have the nicest car in the driveway. You could have the nicest pool in the backyard. Your house could just be so beautiful on a lake. But if the foundation is not strong, if the foundation is not solid, when a storm comes, everything is coming crashing down. And it's the same thing when interacting with children, when interacting with the people you serve. If you do not have a foundation that's rooted in empathy with that person, when adversity hits, and it will, when tough times come, and they will, everything will come crashing down. So everything we do, it starts with empathy. So what is empathy, or what does empathy do? It facilitates change. It builds relationships. It requires you to suspend your ego. And empathy is 100% a skill that requires practice. There's 2 types of empathy here. Cognitive empathy is all about perspective taking, putting yourself in someone else's shoes. Cognitive empathy truly can be a superpower for you because it gives you the tools needed to try to understand someone from their perspective without actually having to pour emotionally into their perspective. The other type of empathy that's very important is emotional empathy. You can share what the other person's feeling. You can experience what the other person is feeling. What this requires you is to prioritize their feelings and needs above your own. A great way to connect with people emotionally, especially children, are using affirmations. And sometimes we think an affirmation is just saying, hey, good job. But there's actually 4 really important type of affirmations I wanted to share with you. 1 is when you identify a positive attribute or strength. That's like saying you're so brave. You're such a big girl. I'm proud of you. A statement of appreciation. Thank you for having such good manners. Recognize that, connect emotionally, give that type of affirmation in that moment. Catch your child doing something right is so critical. If they never clean up and then all of a sudden you notice them cleaning up, hey, look at you putting away your toys. You're awesome. That's what I'm talking about. I'm proud of you. I see you. You're such a big girl. Positively reinforce with affirmations the behaviors you want. And then obviously optimism, support. You got this. No matter what happens, I'm here. I believe in you. That we can do this. I'm so proud of you. These are all ways to connect with your children on an emotional level that also positively reinforce and promote internal growth. Let's talk about our second one, avoid arguments. So 1, arguments lead to power struggles. One of my favorite quotes from Jay-Z, he said, if you argue with a fool, from a distance you can't tell who is who. And it is the same thing again with children. If you are out arguing with a toddler, from a distance you can't tell who is the toddler. So we want to avoid arguing with children. Here's the issue with power struggles if you engage in them. If you win, then the child's gonna be resentful. If you forced the child to do something that they did not want to do, all of their thinking is, I'm hurt, I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm resentful. And usually what a resentful child is looking to do is get you back. A resentful person wants retribution. So if we enter in that power struggle, even if you feel, oh, I won because I made them go to bed, I made them do that, they're not sitting there like, oh, all right, that made a lot of sense. I see why mommy and daddy want that. They're sitting there frustrated, angry, and hurt and resentful, hoping to get you back. So let's move on to our last one, which is a theme here, provide options. There is always an opportunity to provide options. So what happens when you provide options, it gives the child the perception that they have control. And when they have the perception that they have some control in the decision making, it decreases anxiety. And the other beautiful thing about options is it promotes intrinsic motivation. The other part about options that's really critical is when you're providing options, they should be framed as incentives, not bribes. Bribes are about compliance, incentives are about change. I see bribes quite a bit, like in public places. Like the child is having a tantrum in the store, and you're like, if you stop right now, then I'll give you this, right? In that situation, it is simply stop this behavior, comply to what I need you to do, and I'll give you this thing that you want. Whereas in incentives are, if you do this thing that is good, then you'll earn this reward that you believe is important. Incentives teach that being patient leads to rewards that are important to the child. Express empathy, avoid arguments, provide options. It's how committed are you to doing some of the things that we talked about, where your intentions to truly inspire growth and change and love and compassion with your children.